Soon, Brazil will have a port capable of receiving ships with a draft of up to 25 meters. In other words, large vessels such as Panamax, Valemax, and VLCCs with up to 400,000 tons of capacity. This is a multi-billion private project with an expected investment of more than 16 billion reais over its phases. His name? Porto Central, a mega private port complex that is being built in the municipality of Presidente Kennedy in Espírito Santo. And it promises to completely transform Brazil's position in global maritime routes. To understand the magnitude of this, you just need to know that the main Brazilian ports today operate with an average depth of 13 meters, which limits docking to smaller ships. However, with Porto Central, the country will start competing with logistics giants like Rotterdam, Singapore, and Shanghai, paving the way for a new era of foreign trade. But will Brazil get it right this time with such a big project? That's what we're going to find out in this video. Before we talk about the grandeur of the project, it's essential to understand where it's being built and what it represents in terms of scale. For that, it's extremely important to mention that this project, named Porto Central, is being built in the municipality of Presidente Kennedy in the far south of Espírito Santo. A coastal city still little known nationally, but because of its strategic location, it can change the route of Brazilian logistics. The chosen location is close to the main pre-salt oil basins on the shores of the South Atlantic and just a few hours from the Southwest and Midwest regions, where some of the largest consumer and industrial hubs in the country are located, such as Espírito Santo, Minas Gerais, Goiás, Mato Grosso, São Paulo, and Rio de Janeiro, which together account for more than 63% of Brazil's GDP and play a major role in agricultural production, iron ore, and industry. This proximity reduces logistics costs and attracts companies that need quick access to the sea and the global market. Therefore, the project will occupy an area of 1,707 hectares, including a green space of 207.63 hectares for environmental compensation within the port perimeter, and another of 26.88 hectares preserved for the use of the Nossa Senhora das Neves Church. With a total area of approximately 2,000 hectares or 20 million square meters at the end of all the stages, this is equivalent to almost 2,800 soccer fields, or more than twice the size of the Copacabana neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro. The first phase, which is already underway, covers 65.6 hectares on solid ground, an area comparable to about 90 official soccer fields. However, the difference with Porto Central goes beyond the land space. It is being designed to have an access channel with up to 25 meters of depth, something that will truly impact Brazil. This means that large vessels such as the Valemax, the largest ore carriers in the world, and the VLCCs with up to 400,000 tons of capacity will be able to dock there without any restrictions. The investment in the first phase is estimated at 2.6 billion reais, but market estimates project up to 16 billion reais over the course of the 5 phases. To give you an idea of the scale, this amount is equivalent to almost the entire construction of the Orange Line 6 of the São Paulo Metro, considered the largest urban infrastructure project currently underway in the country. It also accounts for about 1/3 of the national urban mobility budget in the Brazilian PAC, Growth Acceleration Program in English, which totaled 48.7 billion reais in 2023. These numbers make it clear that Porto Central is not just a port project, it's one of the biggest logistics bets in Brazil's recent history. Porto Central was created as a direct response to one of the biggest bottlenecks in Brazilian infrastructure: the limitation of our ports to receive large ships. This technical deficiency creates a domino effect that impacts the entire national logistics chain. Today, A large part of Brazilian exports, especially grains, minerals, oil, and general cargo, cannot be shipped directly by large draft vessels. Instead, the cargo needs to be transferred to smaller vessels, transshipped at sea, or worse, make stops at ports in other countries before continuing the journey. The impact of this on daily life is enormous. A farmer in Mato Grosso, for example, spends weeks and thousands of reais just to get his soybeans to a viable port on the coast. A truck driver hauling ore across the country encounters long lines and unstable infrastructure before reaching the port. A businessman in the oil sector, operating just a few kilometers from the coast of Espírito Santo, has to send part of his production to be shipped from distant states, making everything more expensive, from fuel to exports. This situation increases logistical costs and lowers Brazil's international competitiveness. While countries like the Netherlands, China, and the United Arab Emirates operate with modern depths and structures, Brazil still relies on ports built decades ago, with limited capacity and saturated logistics. And it is precisely the combination of national need and local potential that makes Porto Central so relevant. It doesn't just solve a technical problem, it addresses a historical demand, held back by the need for modernization and efficiency in the flow of Brazilian production. But now that we understand the reason for the project, let's go into detail about how it will be carried out. This project is divided into 5 major phases, with total completion expected by the year 2040. Phase 1, already underway, is the most challenging as it includes both maritime and land infrastructure. It all starts with mobilization and site preparation. More than 65 hectares of vegetation will be cleared with a robust environmental compensation plan that includes planting over 100,000 native seedlings in degraded areas. Next comes the dredging of the access channel with the removal of about 64 million cubic meters of sediment, a volume enough to fill more than 25,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools. To reduce the environmental impacts of this stage, the adaptive dredging program will be used. A modern system that allows real-time monitoring of water quality and sediment dispersion. Right after that, the construction of the breakwater comes into play, an essential structure to protect the channel and ensure the safe entry and exit of ships, even under adverse weather conditions. Next, specialized port terminals will be built for each type of cargo: oil, grains, containers, minerals, and industrial products. Each terminal will operate as a port within the port, with independent management, but fully integrated into the common infrastructure of the complex. At the same time, Porto Central is advancing its multimodal logistics structure with planned access by sea, road, railway, and pipeline. Something unprecedented in Brazil in terms of scale and ambition. Land access will be provided by the state highways ES 060, ES 162, and, most importantly, ES 297, all connected to the federal highways Brazilian Federal Highway 101 and Brazilian Federal Highway 262. This ensures connection with the north-south and east-west regions of the country. The government of Espírito Santo has already committed to modernizing these roads by the start of the port's full operation. 2 railway links will also give the project national scale. The Estrada de Ferro 118 with 572 kilometers of length will connect Rio de Janeiro and Vitória and will link Porto Central to the Vale Railways. The future Estrada de Ferro 352 with more than 1,300 kilometers will take the port to the heart of Brazilian agribusiness and mining, passing through Minas Gerais and reaching Nápoles, Goiás. But it's important to point out that construction on both railways hasn't started yet, but they are included in the port's planning. The complex is also preparing dedicated corridors for pipelines, which will transport liquid bulk, natural gas, and industrial utilities. Porto Central is just 12 kilometers from the Gasim National Gas Pipeline Network, which connects Rio de Janeiro to Espírito Santo. In addition, it is already being considered as a strategic point for the future Route 6, with a 332-kilometer pipeline that could connect the port to Minas Gerais. making it possible to supply industrial hubs and thermoelectric plants directly. This model of logistical integration is a huge competitive advantage. It reduces operational costs, expands the reach of national production, and positions Porto Central as a key player in a new export and supply network in Brazil. All of this as a single, modern, flexible, and sustainable port platform. Finally, the project also includes the establishment of an Export Processing Zone, ZPE, a customs area with tax, customs, and operational incentives for exporting companies that set up in the region. All of this will be completed in progressive stages over the coming years. But what is already underway makes it clear, Porto Central is not just a bold idea. It is a reality under construction, which is already beginning to change the logistical future of Brazil. Starting from the interior of Presidente Kennedy. With the advancement of Porto Central, the impacts go far beyond engineering. They are reflected in the real lives of people, companies, and communities. In the economic field, Brazil gains a new strategic export point, capable of reducing logistics costs and attracting billion-dollar investments. Grain producers, mining companies, and oil and gas industries will finally have access to a deep-water port compatible with the major global players. Socially, the port creates new paths that were once unthinkable. Young people from the President Kennedy region, who used to leave their cities in search of opportunities, now see jobs in areas like logistics, civil construction, and port services. Local merchants, service providers, and transport companies are already feeling the first signs of transformation. Of course, the challenges are also significant, especially in the environmental field. The organization of over 40 control and monitoring programs, backed by technical support and ongoing supervision, demonstrates that progress and preservation can be balanced. Adaptation in mobility has already started. New routes, railway studies, and the expectation of integration with the future Estrada de Ferro 118 indicate that the project is not isolated. It's already starting to connect with the rest of the country. In the end, what really transforms a country is not just machines and concrete, but the courage to think big, plan with vision, and execute with responsibility. And perhaps, in this small municipality of Espírito Santo, the first step of a new era for Brazil is being born. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Did you know about this gigantic project in our country? Leave your thoughts about it in the comments. Is it really a good thing? Will we have advantages as people and industries? Leave your opinion in the comments. I'll be happy to read all of them. That's it for now. A big hug and see you in the next video.